Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Today we are talking about two verbs that deal with sound and that learners mix up constantly. And the reason they get mixed up is that on the surface, they seem to mean the same thing. Both words are about receiving sound through your ears, but the difference between them is actually very clear and very meaningful once you understand it.
Yes, and this difference is not just a grammar rule for the sake of rules. It reflects something real about human experience. The way we passively receive sounds and the way we actively pay attention to sounds are genuinely different things, and English has a different word for each one.
The two words today are hear and listen. And I want to say up front that once this difference clicks for you, it will change the way you understand these words completely, and you will use them naturally from that point forward.
So let us start with the core difference. What separates hear from listen?
Hear is passive. It happens automatically. It happens without any effort or intention on your part. Sound enters your ears, and your brain receives it whether you want it to or not. You do not choose to hear. It just happens.
Listen is active. It involves intention, attention, and effort. When you listen, you are deliberately focusing your mind and ears on a sound. You are choosing to pay attention. You are making a conscious decision to engage with what you are hearing.
So the simplest way to say it is this. Hearing happens to you. Listening is something you do on purpose.
Passive versus active, accidental versus intentional, automatic versus deliberate.
Let me give you the clearest possible example. You're sitting in a cafe working on your laptop. Music is playing in the background. You are not paying attention to it. You are focused on your work, but the music is still reaching your ears. You hear the music.
But then a song comes on that you love. You stop what you are doing, you put down your work, you close your eyes, and you focus entirely on the song. Now you are listening to the music.
Same sound, same cafe, same ears, but two completely different experiences. One passive and automatic, one active and intentional.
That contrast perfectly captures everything about hear and listen.
Let me give you more examples. You're asleep and a car alarm goes off outside. It wakes you up. You heard the alarm. You did not choose to. It happened to you involuntarily.
But the next morning, you sit down to study English with headphones on and you play a podcast. You focus carefully on every word. You are listening to the podcast.
You are walking down a street and two people nearby are arguing loudly. You can't help but hear them. The sound reaches you automatically.
But you sit down with a friend who is upset and needs to talk. You give them your full attention. You focus on every word they say. You are listening to your friend.
In every case, hearing is involuntary and listening is voluntary.
Now, let's talk about the grammar of each word because there are some important differences in how they are used in sentences.
Hear is interesting because it's what we call a stative verb in most of its uses. A stative verb describes a state of being rather than an action, and stative verbs in English are generally not used in the continuous form. You do not say, I am hearing a noise. You say, I hear a noise.
So, in the present moment, if you want to describe a sound that is reaching you right now, you say, I hear something, not I am hearing something.
Right. Can you hear that? Not, are you hearing that? I hear music coming from upstairs, not, I am hearing music coming from upstairs.
But listen is an active verb. It describes something you actively do, and action verbs can be used in continuous forms. I am listening to the radio. She was listening carefully. They have been listening for an hour.
So, hear stays in the simple form when describing the experience of receiving sound. Listen can go into continuous forms because it's an action you perform over time.
Can you give some examples showing how each word sits in a sentence?
Sure. Do you hear that noise outside? I can hear someone calling my name. She heard a loud bang and ran to the window. We heard the news and were shocked. All of those use hear as a simple verb because hearing is a state of receiving sound.
And with listen, she is listening to her favorite podcast right now. He listens to music every morning while he exercises. They were listening to the speech very attentively. I have been listening to this album all week. All of those show listen as an active, ongoing behavior.
Now, there's something really important about the preposition that goes with listen. Listen always needs the preposition to when it's followed by an object. You listen to something. You listen to music. You listen to a person. You listen to a lecture. The to is not optional.
So you never say, I am listening music. You always say, I am listening to music.
Right. Listen to. Always. If you forget the to after listen, it sounds wrong and incomplete to a native speaker.
But hear does not need a preposition. You just say, I hear music. I heard her voice. I can hear the rain. No to required.
That preposition difference is one of the most practical things to remember. Hear has no preposition. Listen always takes to.
Now, let me ask you about some special uses and expressions, because I think going deeper into how these words behave in phrases is really helpful for learners.
Great idea. Let's start with hear. One important use is in the expression, I hear you, or I hear what you're saying. This doesn't literally mean sound is reaching your ears. It means, I understand you. I acknowledge your point. I see where you're coming from.
So, I hear you in modern English often means, I understand, or I feel you. It's an acknowledgement and empathy.
Yes, someone says, I'm really struggling with this new job, and you respond, I hear you. That means, I understand how that feels. I relate to what you're saying.
Another important expression is, have you heard? This is used to share news or information. Have you heard about what happened? Have you heard the news? It asks whether the information has reached someone.
And hear from someone means to receive communication from them. I haven't heard from her in weeks. Did you hear from the doctor yet? Hear from means to get a call, message, letter, or any form of contact from someone.
Hear about means to receive information about something. I heard about the accident on the radio. She heard about the job opening from a colleague.
And hear of something means to be aware that something exists. I have never heard of that band. Have you heard of this new restaurant? Heard of means having some knowledge that something exists.
Now let us go into expressions with listen. The most important one that learners should master is listen up, which is used informally to tell someone to pay attention. Listen up, everyone. This is important.
And listen in means to listen to a conversation or broadcast, sometimes secretly. She listened in on their conversation. We can listen in to the live broadcast online.
Listen out for something means to be alert and ready to hear something specific. Please listen out for the doorbell while I am in the shower.
And there is a very beautiful expression, lend an ear. It means to listen sympathetically to someone who needs to talk. She always lends an ear when I'm having a hard time. This expression emphasizes the caring and attentive quality of listening.
Now let us look at a very common situation where the choice between hear and listen really matters in communication, giving and following instructions or advice.
When someone gives you advice and you don't follow it, a native speaker might say, "You never listen," not "you never hear," because listening is the active, intentional engagement with what someone says. Hearing is just the physical reception of sound.
So you can technically hear every word someone says, but still not be listening because you're not genuinely paying attention or engaging with the meaning.
Exactly. Your ears might receive the sound of every word, but if you're not processing it with attention and intention, you're not listening. You're just hearing.
And this is actually a very deep idea that parents, teachers, and partners talk about all the time. I know you heard me, but were you really listening?
Hearing is just the first step. Listening requires something more: attention, presence, and genuine engagement.
Now let us go through the most common mistakes learners make with hear and listen.
Mistake number 1 is forgetting the preposition to with listen, saying, "I'm listening music," instead of, "I'm listening to music." To is always required after listen when followed by an object. Always say, "listen 2?
Mistake number 2 is using listen when you mean hear for involuntary sounds, saying, I was listening to a noise outside, when the noise just reached you without you paying attention. If the sound came to you without your choice, use heard. I heard a noise outside.
Mistake number 3 is using hear in the continuous form when describing receiving sound, saying, I'm hearing music, instead of, I hear music or I can hear music. Hear as a stative verb stays in the simple form, not the continuous.
Mistake number 4 is forgetting that hear can be used with can and could in the present. I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me? I could hear them talking in the other room. Using can and could with hear is very natural and common.
Mistake number 5 is confusing listen to with listen for. Listen to means you are paying attention to a sound that is already there. Listen for means you are waiting and staying alert to catch a specific sound that might come. I'm listening to the radio right now. Listen for the timer. It will go off in 10 minutes.
The to and for give listen a different direction. To means engaging with something present. For means being alert for something expected.
Mistake number 6 is using hear when the situation requires listen in the sense of paying attention to advice or instructions. Saying, he just can't hear me, when you mean he's not paying attention to what I say. In that situation, the word you want is listen. He just doesn't listen to me.
Because the problem isn't that he can't receive the sound, the problem is that he's not giving it active attention, and active attention is the territory of listen, not hear.
Now let me ask you about something that many learners find confusing. The song by a famous group is called Can You Hear Me? Or something similar, and people wonder why hear is used and not listen.
Great question. Can you hear me uses hear because it's asking about the physical reception of sound. Am I reaching your ears? Is my voice getting through? It's about the involuntary, basic act of sound reaching you, not about whether you're paying careful attention.
If someone said, "Can you listen to me?" they would mean, please pay attention to what I'm saying. Please give me your focused engagement. A much more intentional request.
Can you hear me is more of a technical question about whether sound is getting through. Can you listen to me is an emotional or relational request for attention.
That distinction is subtle, but really meaningful once you feel it.
Let's do a practice round now. I'll give you a situation, and you tell me whether hear or listen fits and why.
Ready.
You are working quietly, and suddenly you notice a strange sound coming from outside.
Heard. The sound came to you without you trying. You heard a strange sound outside.
You put on headphones and play an audiobook before bed. You focus on every word.
Listening to. You are actively and intentionally engaging with the audio. You are listening to an audiobook.
Your friend is telling you about a problem, and you want to show you're giving them your full attention.
Listening to. You are actively paying attention to your friend. You are listening to your friend carefully.
You're in another room and your baby starts crying in their bedroom.
Heard. You didn't choose to receive that sound. It reached you involuntarily. You heard the baby crying.
A teacher says to the class before giving important instructions.
Listen. Listen up, or please listen carefully. The teacher is asking for active, intentional attention.
You want to ask someone if the music from your headphones is too loud and can be heard.
Can you hear this? Using hear because you are asking about whether the sound is physically reaching their ears.
You spend an hour paying close attention to a new language podcast.
Listened to. I listened to a language podcast for an hour. Active engagement over a period of time.
Every answer was right and the reasoning was clear and solid.
And I want listeners to notice that in every case, the key question was the same. Did the sound come to me without my choice, or did I actively choose to engage with it? That one question leads you to the right word every time.
Passive and involuntary equals hear. Active and intentional equals listen. That core principle never changes.
Now, before we finish, I want to address something that I think will really help listeners feel confident using these words going forward. Please.
Some learners feel worried about hear and listen because they think they've been using them wrong for a long time. Maybe you've been saying, "I'm listening to a noise," or "I'm listening to something outside," when you really meant you heard it involuntarily.
And here's the thing. Even if you've been using them interchangeably until today, people have still understood you. The core meaning came through. Communication happened.
But now you have a deeper understanding, and that deeper understanding will make your English more precise, more natural, and more expressive going forward, not because you were wrong before, but because now you have more tools.
Think of today as adding clarity to something that was already working. You already knew both words. Today, you understood them at a deeper level. That's always something to feel good about.
Keep noticing hear and listen in the content you consume in English. Every time you hear someone say, "Listen to that," or "Did you hear that?" pause for a second and feel why that word was chosen. That noticing will make everything stick.
You're building real English instinct one episode at a time. And instinct is what fluency feels like.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. We hope hear and listen feel much clearer and that you feel ready to use both of them with confidence.
Keep going, and we'll see you in the next episode.